Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Gordon, and welcome to Uncle Floyd podcast number 67. Right now, it's 3:45 in the afternoon on Friday, April 3rd, 2026, and I'm sitting in my studio talking to you guys out there. And we've got a lot of good questions from you people today, so we're going to get to that in a few minutes as soon as we listen to the end of the wonderful Uncle Floyd Show theme, played by the Vivino Brothers Band and written by Uncle Floyd. All right, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. First note we have here is from Michael Lepowski. He says the most unusual and funniest bit was the Dull family. Now, who created the absolute comic gem? Well, Michael, let me explain to you how that went. Floyd and I got invited to somebody's house for dinner, and we went. We went to their house for dinner, and we walked in, a very nice home in the Oranges, and we walked into their house and we sat down and we talked and we discussed things. And as we were discussing these things, dinner was being made. We went in, we had sat down at the table, and the dinner went like this. There was no conversation. Everything that was said was something like, "Would you please pass the butter? Thank you. Could you please pass the salt? Thank you. This water is nice and cold." So when we left their house, Floyd and I got into the car. We rode down together because we didn't know what the parking was going to be like. It was, like I said, in the Oranges. On the way home, we were very quiet. We usually talked and joked and stuff like that. It was very quiet. All of a sudden, Floyd looked at me and said, "Scott, was there something wrong with those people?" And I looked at Floyd and I said, "Oh, thank God, I thought it was me." So when we were sitting down and writing up what we were going to do for the next show, which we did in between the records, when the records were being played on the radio shows, we would discuss the sketches. Or we would sit down, we'd have a meeting, and Floyd and I discussed it and said, this would be a good bit. We should call it the Dull family. And that's where the Dull family came from. It came from an actual experience. This is from somebody who identifies himself as Trumpet Man 66. How is it that the UF record Deep in the Heart of Jersey got played on the Dr. Demento show? Who sent him the recording? How was it that Floyd got hired to be part of the Dr. Demento review at the Bottom Line? Well, somebody obviously sent Dr. Demento a copy of the record. We're not even sure who. And he started playing it. At one point, it was his play of the week. He used to have voting on the songs that people liked the best. And that was it. So obviously, when there was a Dr. Demento tour set up, he called up Floyd when they opened it at the Bottom Line and said, "Hey, Floyd, I'm going to have Benny Bell and a few other people, and I want you to come over and play your songs. And Floyd said, sure. You know, it's a gig. Go and do it. Collect the money and go home. Well, he got on the tour and got on the special that was recorded in, I think it was San Diego, because of the fact that Benny Bell didn't want anyone other than Floyd to play the piano for him when he performed, because Benny decided he liked Floyd when they played at the Bottom Line. So that's how Floyd got onto the Dr. Demento show and on the Dr. Demento tour. Anytime Benny Bell was on with Dr. Demento, Floyd would fly out and play piano with him. This is from Brandon Hotch, formerly of Nutley, New Jersey, currently in Plymouth, New Hampshire. One of my favorite characters on the show was Ken-Do. Floyd would try to make something out of clay and compare the real item with the Ken-Do model. The segment was always preceded by a catchy theme song. We want Ken-Do. There's things to do with Ken-Do. Was there a specific person or show the character was based on? And are you able to play the Ken-Do theme on the podcast? The Ken-Do theme was always played live by Floyd on the piano. He would play it live and then run over quick and say, "Hi, I'm Ken-Do." But there was never an actual recording of it that was played. As far as who it was based on, every kid show had a thing where they did like a craft. Sometimes the person like Tommy Seven or Johnny Jellybean or one of those guys would play a character, a secondary character. Sandy Becker, obviously. He had Norton Nork, who would do things with a voiceover with telling him what to do. Floyd based the character on these kind of guys who played another character on their own show and made crazy things. Floyd's never worked because sometimes theirs didn't work either. From Mike Optenacker. Since many of the cast members were accomplished musicians, was there ever a cast jam? There was always a cast jam, Mike. Always. Anytime the musical instruments were out, we'd do something. I'd be playing the drums, or I'd take the bass or pick up a guitar. Muggsy was always there with a guitar, Neto. And we just had fun. You know, whenever the equipment broke down, we'd play around. We'd do something. From Stephen Hahnemann. Were there any studio managers who were nice to work with and were supportive of you? Every one of them was. The studio managers, the guys who were in the studios, were great. They always worked with us. We were the tough ones. We were hard to work with because of the fact that we'd wreck the joint. And we'd make a mess and we'd be loud. And obviously the secretaries and the suits upstairs had no idea what we were doing. But we did it and they liked it. From Phil Pagliaro, West Caldwell, New Jersey. Did the Uncle Floyd Show ever perform on stage in any of the syndicated cities outside the local New York, New Jersey, Philly area? Absolutely. I didn't do many of them with Floyd, but Floyd would travel around when they promoted the show, when they were selling the show. But I worked in Boston and in Cleveland with Floyd. We did live shows there to promote the show, and that was it. Was the show able to establish a following in any of the other markets, whether on stage or TV? Yes, absolutely. We have quite a few people. As a matter of fact, we have a few people, I know several who listen to Boston. Conan O'Brien watched the show in Boston when he was up there, and he was amazed when Jimmy and Jerry were hired to be in the Max Weinberg band. It took several weeks before he realized, wait a minute, these guys are Floyd's brothers. Interesting fact. From Todd Waka, I distinctly remember the sounders and sound effects that were on carts for the show, including the flushing toilet that played during the old-time movie during the Joe Frankfurter sketches, and the sounders that played after Skip told his jokes. I wonder if they were all saved. Well, I have news for you. Todd, every one of them was saved. In fact, I have probably most of them here, such as
I'm love you.
I have all the sound effects. I've collected sound effects. I have about 50,000 sound effects in my library. And as far as skip stuff, so somewhere in my studio, we have it, including the old themes. In fact, I used to annoy Floyd like crazy with some of the stuff that I have. He'd be carrying on and talking over and over and over and getting really long-winded about something like I'm doing right now, and what he would get is, yeah, come on in.
Shut up or you'll face.
So the sound effects are here. I have them all. From John and Mary in Spring Lake Heights. Did you or any other cast members perform with Floyd at his restaurant in the Wayne Holiday Inn? I think it was called Uncle Floyd's Restaurant. Yeah, it was just called Uncle Floyd's, John and Mary. It was a nice little place, and when we had the time, when we weren't doing something else, we'd show up. We'd be there. And we'd play the drums or guitar or bass or whatever. From Matthew DiLorenzo. Hello, Scott. 2 questions for you. First is a follow-up question from last week. You mentioned the Italian-American Serenade shows and Floyd giving you cues in Italian. What exactly were these cues in Italian? I don't remember the exact cues. It was more of a rhythm that Floyd had where I would know when he wanted me to start the record or play a commercial. It was just a feeling, just a rhythm that we did. And I can't remember any of the actual cues in Italian. And what was the production environment like for those? Well, I was right here. We did all those shows right here. The first 2 or 3 months we did the shows live from New Rochelle. It got to be too much of a drag on Sunday morning going into New Rochelle to do the shows. So I built a studio. I was trained by Les Paul. I worked with Les Paul, helped him with his studio. And I knew basically everything that I had to do to get it to work. And I did. It originally was in boxes, and I'd put it together once a week in the living room, and we'd do it, and then I'd pack it all up. And eventually I got tired of doing it, cleaned out a corner of the basement, and made the studio in the basement. If you go to my Facebook page, you can see a lot of the pictures of the studio. I've posted them up there. All right, his second question. The show had an incredible do-it-yourself spirit with handmade sets and costumes, puppets, and unusual props. Was there a specific moment you remember when a major component totally broke down on camera or a live stage show? A prop collapse, puppet malfunction, and Floyd just kept rolling like a pro. That happened all the time. Every one of them was left in. It was totally left into the show. We did not cut it. If there was a mistake, it was there. You can see it. Come to our Tuesday night thing where we have clips of the old shows. I'm there live, and I answer questions that are typed into the chat group. It's called This Was the Uncle Floyd Show, and you can find it by going to theunclefloydshow.tv. That's theunclefloydshow.tv. It's Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, and we're there every week. Going to be there Tuesday coming up. This is from Tim Ramsdell, Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey. Floyd seemed to be all showbiz all the time. You mentioned that he liked to cook. Did he have any other hobbies that he liked to do? Floyd loved playing the piano. Show business was his life. That's what he was. He was a performer. He was constantly on stage. That was when he was the most comfortable, is when he was on stage. So what was his hobbies? His hobby was his work. We should all be so lucky to have our work be our hobby. Then you never work a day in your life. Or any vacations he took with his family. Well, we never discussed personal items as part of the show. And that tradition is going to continue. You know, his personal life was his personal life. This is from Susie Tannenbaum. Hi, Scott. When did you realize Floyd had become your best friend? Was there a particular moment or did it happen gradually over time? Susie, this is one of those situations where you meet somebody and immediately know you're of like mind and you're going to get along great. You become instant friends. And that's what it was with Floyd and me. We became instant friends. She also asks, if you attended the recent memorial mass for Floyd at the church in Totowa, could you share a few stories about how people celebrated his life? No, Susie, I did not go. And there's a very specific reason why I didn't go. Floyd personally did not want anything like that. He and I had discussions about, what we believed in and what we wanted to happen after we were gone. We spent a lot of time together and had a lot of time to talk when records were playing on radio shows. That's one of the things we talked about, what we wanted to happen when we were gone. And he did not want any big public religious thing about his life. That was all the doing of the church where it was. That was the church in his neighborhood, and he used to go down and do shows for the children and the holidays and shows to raise money for the seniors, because that's the church he attended. After Floyd passed on, the church decided they wanted to do a tribute to him, and that's what they did. That was the church's thank you to Floyd, and I respect them for that. They had the right to do it, and they did it. It's just to agree and follow Floyd's wishes, I didn't go. And I know there were other people who didn't go as well because of that very reason. This is from Anthony. Today on the Friends of Floyd website, a lady posted a pic of Floyd, herself, and brothers, and Rich Cornetto asked if her sister's name was Debbie, and she said yes. My question is, was that his first wife? Floyd's first wife's name was Debbie. I did not see that picture, so I can't tell you if that was her. Okay, now from Dennis DeLeo. Scott, we all know about your talent as a musician, especially the guitar and the bass fiddle. But did you ever cut a record with your vocal talents? I remember Chuck Little had lip-syncing songs like There She Goes, but I don't ever remember you sang using your real voice. If so, could you possibly play one for us? Well, Dennis, I'll be playing a song by Floyd later, but since you asked, I went through my files and I came up with something that I recorded in 1973, 1974. This was a song that was written by myself, a bass player I worked with named Chuck Caccioli, and a friend of his named Jim Sillery, who wrote the lyrics. I recorded it. Now, this is, again, Les Paul's training. Every instrument on this is played by me except for the drums, which is played by a friend named Janet Bilello, and another vocal. I had a female background vocalist who was Lori Chasin. We recorded this in 1973, and I'll play it for you.
Sky to search your mind to find reasons why. What's the sense of living if you only live to die? You wander through streets always alone. You find yourself wishing you had a place to call home. As you wander in the dark, just wonder
As you can see, I am not a very talented vocalist. Recently, I've been doing other things. I haven't been singing like that. So I do sing a little bit, but when I want to have some fun. But I have been working in the studio I have a full studio and doing some instrumental stuff. I'll play something for you. It's under 2 minutes long. It's an instrumental that I was listening to some Django Reinhardt, and I said, let's have some fun with this. There are no other musicians on this. I'm it. I'm using a few tricks, a few studio tricks, like synthesizers, an item called a sequencer, which helps me play along. I'm playing the guitar, obviously. I'm playing the bass, obviously. But all the other instruments are played using a keyboard. And they're samples of instruments that I just used as backup. So this is about 2 minutes long, and I don't even remember the title of this. Whatever the heck it is. I'll play it for you now anyway. Yep, that's just a little bit of nerdling in the studio is what it's called. Yeah, the guitars were actual real guitars. The other stuff is all keyboard, synthesizer, sampler, that kind of stuff. That's all me. Everything there was me. I have a bunch of other stuff I've been playing around with. I'm not going to play any now. You've had enough of me. I have other stuff I've been doing. Mostly I've been playing around with new age and ambient music and some jazz. But if you guys want to hear more of that, you want me to play some more, or you have some questions you want to send in, I've got one more question we're going to get to in a minute. If you want to send in other questions for me for next week, do it right away. As soon as you have an idea, jot it down, email it to me at ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. That's ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And you can find that email address listed in the description of this show. It'll be there. A couple other links as well. We have one more question, and this is from Tom Dolan. He says, when and how did you learn to play the guitar? What method do you recommend for someone wishing to learn guitar? I've been playing guitar since I was about 10 years old. I had my first guitar. Again, on my Facebook page, you can find a picture of me with my first guitar, standing in front of a Christmas tree. It was a Christmas gift. I learned by studying with a couple of teachers. I went to a couple of teachers and learned some stuff. One thing I will tell you to learn is learn how to read. Learn how to read music. You can read guitar tablature. That's great, but also learn how to read regular music, because if you want to work as a guitarist, you have to be able to read notation. And that's the best way to learn. You need a good teacher to teach you that. Okay? After you have the basics, but before you're done taking your lessons, also learn to go with other people. You learn more by playing with other musicians who've been playing for a while. Work with people better than yourself. They will make you better. That's the best thing I can tell you to do. That's why I was hanging around with Les Paul. I hung around with a lot of other musicians. Lou Paulo. The type of music you just heard me play, it's called gypsy guitar. Django Reinhardt played that way. There's a guy named Frank Vignola who has online teaching to teach that style of guitar. You can find that kind of stuff. You might find something online, but the best thing to do is actually get with a teacher, sit down and learn, and then go out with other musicians and play. That's the best thing I can tell you. All right? Now, a couple more notes. Just remember, every Tuesday night at 8, we have a date for clips of the old Uncle Floyd show if you'd like to come and watch it. That's ufpodcast at sge-inc.com is where you can send email. The live stream show on Tuesday night at 8, you get that at theunclefloydshow.tv. Theunclefloydshow.tv. Again, in emails, ufpodcast at sge-inc.com. I get them. I read them to you. I answer your questions. And we have a lot of fun here, I hope. I know we have a lot of fun on Tuesday night. You should join us. As Floyd always said, he's constantly touched at the fact that you guys out there, you love to hear this stuff. You love to learn about the show. You love to remember us and get laughs at what we used to do, like on Tuesday night. You are the most important thing to any show. You, the audience. Without you, this wouldn't exist. I'd be sitting here talking to myself, which I'm doing anyway, but you're listening to me. And I thank you for doing that. I'm so happy to be able to do this for you. And I'm so happy to bring you a recording by Floyd, which is how we're going to close out the show today. And I'll see you guys next time.
Susan! Has anyone seen Susan? Oh, Susan, Susan, sitting in a sewing shop. All day long she'd sit and sew, all day long she'd sew and sit. Susan, Susan, sitting in a sewing shop. She'd sit all day and sit and sew, sew all day and sew and sit. Susan, 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 sitting in a sewing shop. Oh, Susan, Susan, sitting in a shoe shine shop. All day long she'd sit and shine, all day long she'd shine and sit. Susan, Susan, sitting in a shoe shine shop. She'd sit all day and sit and shine, shine all day and shine and sit. Susan, 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 sitting in a shoe shine shop. Susan, Susan, sitting in a Chevrolet. All day long she'd sit and shift, all day long she'd shift and sit. Susan, Susan, sitting in a Chevrolet. She'd sit all day and sit and shift, shift all day and shift and sit. Susan, Susan, sitting in a Chevrolet. Susan, Susan, sitting in a poultry shop. All day long she'd pluck the duck, all day long the duck she'd pluck. Susan, Susan, sitting in a poultry shop. She'd sit all day and pluck the duck, and that's enough for that. Ha ha. Susan, Susan, sitting in a dressmaker shop. All day long she'd fit and tuck, all day long she'd tuck and fit. Susan, Susan, sitting in a dressmaker shop. She'd fit all day and fit and tuck, tuck all day and tuck and fit. Susan, 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 sitting in a dressmaker shop.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.